You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. I'm a big believer in self-care because you can't build a business if your personal health and your mental health, your physical health and well-being is not where it needs to be. You've got to feel good if you want to do good work. So we need experts in our life to help us and to remind us to take time out for self-care. And so I'm really delighted to welcome to today's program Dr. Heather Bartos. She is a board-certified OB-GYN and a US Navy veteran. She is the CEO of B, Women's Health and Wellness, and also the fierce founder of Badass Women, Badass Health. She's been featured in Glamour and Cosmo, Women's Health, and ABC News. Dr. Bartos is currently working on a book about mindful sexuality. That sounds interesting. Dr. Heather Bartos, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you so much for finally getting me on, Ralph. I appreciate it.
It must be meant to be because we have had to overcome so many obstacles on my end and on your end, but finally we are connecting. We've got the synergy, and we are going to make the very most of the opportunity that we have. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in the medical industry in self-care, and specifically your decision to focus on women. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. My background was actually in political science, and I kind of packed up and went to Nashville when I graduated from college and decided I was going to be in public relations and advertising. And I worked with some big country music singers, and I thought this was great. And then I shot my boss in the nuts with a paintball at a marketing event, yes, I literally shot him in the nuts with a paintball. It was on accident. Nonetheless, I did not keep that job much longer. And I kind of walk ashamed back home to Texas.
I wonder why.
I know. It was a pink one too. I mean, he was a big Southern guy. He was not happy. And I started getting into healthcare, marketing and public relations. And I kind of just thought, you know what? I'm kind of tired of writing about this. I'd really like to be doing it. And so, like my dad always said, did you just wake up one day and decide to go to medical school? And I said, well, kind of. I mean, it's not that simple. I had to go back and get a bunch of schooling and that. But certainly it was a decision that was just like overnight. And I did. I went to medical school, joined the Navy, spent 12 years in the Navy and was a medical director for them, for women and infant care, and then got out and went to work for corporate medicine, which is an oxymoron to say the least. And after almost dying of pneumonia, because I was not taking care of myself, I was like the worst self-care person in the world. I got to get out of this place. I've got to open up a place that will serve women. That's primarily who I care for. Serve women, serve me, and serve my family in a better way. And so I opened up B Women's Health and Wellness. It's actually 5 years ago this week.
Oh, happy anniversary.
And thank you. I know we've been celebrating all week. We've had actually birthday themes all week. And I've never been happier. I've never felt better about myself. And I know it's that we've helped so many women with weight loss, fertility, just taking care of themselves in their daily lives, having babies. I mean, the whole works. And it's really become a very fulfilling work, which is what I lost for a while in corporate medicine.
Very exciting. So I usually ask guests to tell us about your ideal prospect. In this case, tell us about your ideal patient. Who are the typical women that you're working with, and what are some of the unique challenges that they have that you're able to help them solve on a consistent basis?
Yeah, I have several different kinds of patients. I have the patient that's used to the typical Western medicine system. I come in, I pay my copay, I want you to give me an antibiotic, and I want to go home. And I would say that's not really my ideal prospect. I mean, I'll treat that patient. I'm happy to help her, but I'm always really interested more in how we get there and how we get to our disease states. And I have women on the other end of that spectrum that will bring me a 4-inch notebook of every symptom they have had in the past 6 weeks. And I've had them actually leave this with me. And I'm not going to read through all this. Why is your health now your biggest hobby? So I'm looking for the woman always that is willing to make an investment in herself, willing to accept responsibility for her own health, and willing to hear some tough love, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, you are one of your brands is Badass Women, Badass Health. And so you've got a lot of outside the box, atypical approaches to women's health. What would you say is the biggest challenge for women out there, with women that you're working with, that is really preventing them from achieving that level of self-care, physical and mental health, particularly as it relates to our ability to create a business that is going to work because we feel good, we have the energy, we have the health that we need, and we're putting ourselves first. But why is that such a struggle?
It's a tremendous struggle, and it starts with kind of perception. And I always say women were kind of the original entrepreneurs, mothers, stay-at-home moms, or moms that go to, to part-time work, or moms that do MLM type, products. We're the original entrepreneurs. We did it all. And we've been taught, we've been conditioned over the years to play martyr. Because that's what good women do, is we take care of you men, and we take care of other people, and maybe somewhere at the end we'll take care of ourselves last. And it's really kind of realigning the mindset there that, hey, look, your heart is a very important organ in your body. Do you think that your heart gets the crappy last blood that's going through your body? No. Your heart gets the first blood right off of the lungs. It gets the freshest blood, the most oxygenated blood. It has to, because it has to do all the work for the rest of the body. And that's what a woman does. That's what a mom does. That's what an entrepreneur does. You're functioning as the heart of some kind of organization. And when we realign to think that it's not selfish care, but it's just self-care, it really can change our thought from being victim, I'll do me last, to, hey, I'm going to take care of me so I can take care of you all.
Absolutely. Every time we have a conversation about this, I always think of the illustration of the passengers on the airplane, and you hear the speech at the beginning. If there is a sudden loss of cabin pressure, the oxygen mask will drop down. Secure your mask before you help others. Why? Because you've only got a few seconds, and if you try to help everybody else, you're going to pass out before you have saved yourself. So save yourself before you try to go out and save others. And I really like also what you said about it's self-care, not selfish care, but we tend to look at it as being selfish, and especially women who have been stereotyped into the one that has to do it all, and you're on duty 24 hours a day. Guys can get sick, and they lay around and they have to be waited on. Women get sick and they keep on going to work, taking care of the kids, cooking the meals, and it's really something that we've got to stop looking at it that way and get out of this stereotypical mindset that equates self-care with being selfish.
Exactly. And I think women as a whole too are also worried about being viewed as, oh, she's just playing sick. She's not really that bad. Well, we make fun of man flu all the time. I mean, there's commercials mocking you guys with this, the man flu and the woman with the gunshot wound. And they say, you're fine. We're dealing with this man flu trauma right now. And we almost just the point where as society, we make fun of it. And I just told you right when we started this conversation, I was sick on Monday at work. I went home. Tuesday, I had a fever of 101.5. And luckily, I had someone cover for me. I typically had meetings on Tuesdays. And Wednesday, when I went in there and I was diagnosed with the flu, every woman in the office was like, we're going to take off your load. We're going to take off your load. We're going to help you with this. And everyone was understanding. No one went crazy. No one died because I had the flu and I was going to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And that's a hard lesson, especially for women doctors. We're like the worst.
Yeah. It's like you're never supposed to be sick, right? You're Superwoman, Wonder Woman.
Weakness, right? Sickness is weakness is what women think. And so, you count on your tribe to kind of help you say, you know what, this isn't right. You need to go take care of yourself. And I did. And so here I am talking today with the flu. Well, recovering from the flu.
Recovering from the flu. Well, you sound great, and I'm glad that you are in recovery, and I'm glad that we could have this conversation because a lot of people are not cognizant enough of the need for self-care to be able to take time off. And so it becomes much worse than just flu, and they have no resilience. They can't bounce back from it as quickly. So someone listening to this and they recognize themselves in this conversation, what would be some things that they should begin to think about and maybe even begin to implement some changes that they could make right now that would help them to get out of this martyr complex and really begin to move towards self-care and personal health for every area of their life?
Absolutely. And it's not an easy transition. So it's something even that I have to remind myself of. I always say one is preventative care all up to snuff. And most of the time it's not. And I use a really easy trick that we use in the military actually, which is preventative care should be done during your birth month. There is no better birthday gift you can give yourself than making sure that your teeth are cleaned. You've had your prostate checked or your pap smear. You've had your cholesterol checked, all those things. And you'll never forget when you last had it. You'll just say, so if my birthday is in March every year, I know that in March, I'll get my mammogram. I'll get my pap smear. I'll get my this. I'll get my lipid check. I'll get all my stuff done. By the time April rolls around and I'm a year and a month older, I've gotten everything done and I'm kind of ahead of the game. So it's all about getting ahead of what you can preventatively.
I like that. And that's kind of like those nuclear submarines. As long as we're talking about the Navy, they bring them in, that they go out on patrol for several months and they bring them into the dock for several months and they do their preventative care, repairs, maintenance, whatever they got to do until they go back out on patrol again. And so, you're saying once a year is good enough for the human machine to come in and have that preventative care done.
Absolutely. I mean, once a year, at least to take stock of where you are. Now, certainly as we age, we have more and more things to do, right? At 50, we have a colonoscopy and these kind of things. And so really making kind of a vision, like we do this for our companies, right? We do, year budgets and we do kind of our vision for the company for the next year. We should be doing that for our health as well. It doesn't take, a whole board of trustees meeting and a bunch of, Starbucks. It just takes really sitting down for an afternoon and saying, okay, what have I not had? What does the American Cancer Society recommend? What does my doctor recommend? Who are all my healthcare providers? Let me just get that all in a document and then updating it every year. It's really very easy.
I love that. So preventative care during your birth month, that is one step towards better self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I usually will say, if we can do this, and it is so hard for me, but it is so great when I can do it, 1 day a week with no tech.
Yeah.
The tech really is, it's really hard it causes eye strain and headaches. So it's really hard on the health. And we actually know that for our mental health, it can cause more anxiety and depression, which we're seeing in greater numbers anyway. And we're seeing more suicides among all kinds of high level achievers and producers. And so, we're really working on trying to prevent those kind of, mental health crises. So, one day a week I have friends who are, Orthodox Jewish, and they take their Sabbath and they will not answer a phone call. They will not. And you just know you don't bother them. No one gives them a hard time about it. But we don't do that because if we don't have a religious reason, it's not a good enough reason. So we should be taking at least a night, but preferably a whole day. Get rid of all that stuff. Don't look at the computer screen and wipe your eyes out and everything like that too. And just take one day of no tech.
I really love that. A big thing now is becoming these retreats that you go on that you're off the grid and not connected, no technology allowed. And you spend the weekend or you spend a week, if you can stand it that long, where you're completely unplugged. And that may not be realistic for a lot of people, but one day with no tech, one day to unplug, one day of not looking at email, not surfing the web, not doing your work, regardless of your religious beliefs, that one day a week is very profound in being able to help us keep our balance, keep our mental and physical acuity where it needs to be. And I'm really enthusiastic about it because that's something that I practice one day a week. I try not to do anything at all, and I try not to answer the phone or do the email or anything. And it really makes a difference.
It just, you feel almost fresh. What our ancestors must have felt like. And my ancestors, like my grandparents, just not looking at so much good, online and have those blue lights on you. It is really refreshing.
I love that. Now, you are among other things, as if you don't have enough going on with your practice, you are also a speaker. You have different programs and things available to people. If someone wants to reach out and engage you to help them achieve their health goals, and maybe they're not right in your physical locale, what and how can they reach out to you and take advantage of the different things that you have available?
Absolutely. Some of the best ways is the website, which is heatherbartosmd.com. Usually I have some challenge going on there. We're doing something as a group because like I said, I need it too. So if I'm running a group program that's either a free one or something that's small, it's because I also need it. So it's kind of like physician heal thyself. That's that old cliche.
Yeah.
It's because I'm going to do it with you. That's a great way to reach out and get involved. I also speak on lots of, really tough stuff in women's health, but also involves family health because most women in the family make the healthcare decisions for the rest of the family. So I always say women kind of trickle down into the men, and we're starting to see more men and children in our clinic now too. But we do speaking on all kinds. And like you said, the books on mindful sexuality, it's a huge area of self-care that we have not really plugged into, is having a happy, healthy sex life, well up into our 80s, 90s. I think we all thought that would just kind of stop at some point, and for a lot of us, it has. So really kind of trying to get that back in order. I'm also on Facebook at Dr. Heather Bartos and Instagram. So I always got some kind of probably controversial comment going on.
Well, I'm glad you brought up again the book, because I wanted to ask you about, give us the Reader's Digest version. What is mindful sexuality?
Yeah, so the book's actually called Intercourse, and it really works on the fact that our sexuality, much like our health, it starts inside. So I don't rely on my husband, or you don't rely on your partner or whoever it is to fulfill you sexually or to make you feel sexy, but it all starts from the inside. And so especially as women, I have women come in that, oh, I'm too old for that. And I'm like, you're 45. You're younger than I am. Please don't say that. That's hurt now. And how much self-esteem boosting I must do for women all day who rely on someone else's impression of them to feel sexy. well, I told my husband I bought this new dress and he said, oh, it looks nice. And I'm like, but maybe it looks nice. That's what he says. But I wanted him to say I looked fabulous. And we're trying to get women away from needing that kind of external, kind of authentication and really kind of going to the internal so that whether he says it looks nice or whether he says it looks like a piece of crap, you feel you look sexy in it. And then really kind of getting rid of those blocks that have kind of, well, really everyone sexually has blocks from childhood, from past relationships, from traumas that we all need to kind of clear out our cache, so to speak, and kind of start with kind of a fresh board.
Yeah, I love that. Reset the cookies, so to speak. Get rid of all that junk and the pop-up ads and everything that flash across our mind every time you're trying to be productive. And so that's interesting. So that's your new book that's coming out soon. Lots of very exciting things. Again, congratulations on your 5-year anniversary. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with?
I've learned this as an entrepreneur now for the past, 5 years plus is, I always thought as an entrepreneur, I had to just work my ass off and it was all about just time. And it really, once about a balanced self-care program comes into play, you realize it really is about working smarter, not harder, not longer. And so taking really a big chunk of your time at the beginning of the year, 2020 is coming up, new decade, and really kind of putting down just like you would for your company, all your goals for you, your health, your personal life, your mental health and all that can just reap benefits for your company and your family and everyone.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your wisdom and your expertise with us. I've been speaking with Dr. Heather Bartos. She is a board-certified OB-GYN and US Navy veteran, and as well as the CEO of B, Women's Health and Wellness. She is also the fierce founder of Badass Women, Badass Health. If you want to connect with Dr. Bartos, check her out at heatherbartosmd.com. Dr. Bartos, thank you so much for being on Rebelpreneur Radio today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rob. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.